Right. Thank you very much. So like yesterday, I want to just brief.
So only visible, we cannot hear.
Sir, we cannot hear.
You are muted, sir.
Wait.
Check. Testing one.
I think now this end is quite okay. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Both. We can hear you and see you.
Thank you. Right. Okay. Then without wasting time, we will go ahead with the program. Thank you, Sudesh. So our I'm not taking time. Yesterday, I have briefed you a lot. And today, our resource person is on time, and I'm not taking his time. But I want to tell you that now yesterday you have agreed with Dr. Sedara that next weekend it will be purely online, right? So it is up to you all. The learning is something that සිංහලෙන් කියනවා එක තනියකින් අපුඩි ගන්න බෑ. ඒ නිසා ඒක තමයි මට දෙන්න තියෙන එකම උදාහරණය. So if you all are not willing to come to PIM physically and you all are willing to do online purely, but it is not PIM's standard. You can see everywhere the lot of programs are there. If you go to the notice board, the people who are with me, and how many programs are there? All of majority of those programs are physical and hybrid. So they are coming hybrid by turns, and they are making somehow it 50% of the particular group. So here having online, I don't know how many there now. The total I don't know. I have to get the feedback from education department once again. But online now is about say 50. See 62. Good. Okay, it's a good news. 62 plus 10, 72. So it's quite okay. I don't think that there will be a big say number of dropouts, but I think 2 or 3 have informed that they are unable to do or something. Then I requested education department to keep me informed officially. Otherwise, we can't say remove names. So anyway, it's good news. 62 plus okay 72. I am talking to everyone. Now we are having 2 parallel modules. Now yesterday, today. So likewise. So whenever you agree with the resource person that next weekend you are purely online, then only for Dr. Sedara's one you can't be online, and the Saturday you can't come. I don't know if you can come there. We can facilitate. There's no problem. So a new resource person is here. I will introduce him. So the same exercise that you did yesterday with Dr. Sedara, my today's new resource person is also very flexible. You can get the things that the way, especially the group leaders. How many group leaders here? You? Only one. Only one. Okay. So it is up to you all to get maximum of this. We are unable to insist even Ministry of Education, you all. But we have deviated a lot from usual PIM norms for this particular program. Since this World Bank funded project and the funds have been given to PIM, so we are supposed to conduct. You, audience, I think you can hear me.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now, say you need anything, we have a WhatsApp group with group leaders. Always I am in touch with them, and it is up to you all once again to get the program in a successful way. Otherwise, we don't like to get ourselves find fault, right? From Education Ministry or World Bank or whatever, that we are unable to, I mean, say, provide transport to you all and bring you, arranging buses, something from remote areas that we can't do. If participant says, I can't come, then it is up to him or her or the Education Ministry. Right, okay. Anyway, I'm not discouraging anyone. The people who are here, 10 people are here. Yesterday we had about say 20, and online a substantial number is there. I will introduce the today's resource person. We actually paid much attention with regard to strategic management. I don't know whether anyone now, all of you can, I mean, say the physical people, they can see me, but I need a small feedback from you, the online. What do you mean by strategic management, or keep management word away and have some strategic, what is it? When I introduce strategy, I will get a good example. අපේ සිංහල භාෂාව කිව්වහම මම හිතනවා I am not by unfair by any Tamil speaking people. මේ නරියා තමයි strategic master මගේ දැනුමේ. strategic කියන්නේ ක්‍රමෝපාය. එතකොට ක්‍රමෝපාය කියන්නේ මේ යම් කිසි දෙයක් කරන ක්‍රමවේදය. So I am not going to I may disturb my resource person, since that is my from when I actually did my degree and everything. Then I thought finally strategy means when අර පොඩි කාලේ අපි කතාවල ආපු නරිය කරපු වැඩ තමයි. Something, some place where you have to act strategically. So strategy is something that. So I am introducing the resource person today at PIM. I warmly welcome Mr. Dimuthu. Dimuthu is a chartered accountant who worked as an audit trainee and a manager of an audit firm for more than 3 years at the beginning of his career. After qualifying chartered, he joined Srida DSC as head of finance and was there for 5 years. Then joined Bank of Ceylon as accountant and worked for 7 years, and currently working as assistant general manager of one of the leading bank in Sri Lanka. He is a product of PIM. He has lectured more than 13,000 students and currently lecturing at Chartered Accountant of Sri Lanka, Chartered Accountant Institute of Sri Lanka, for final case study paper, and had experience dealing with principals and teachers at Srida for conducting training for many years. I don't know whether you all have had participated in his programs. I don't think. Anyway, so over to you, Mr. Dimuthu. I am not going to take your time since I have taken much of your time. You can just voting.
Thank you very much, Jayanta, and thank you very much for PM also for giving me the opportunity here to conduct my sessions. I hope you can hear me. So online guys, they can hear me, no?
Yes, sir, we can hear.
Okay. So I think Jayanta has given me given a good introduction about me, so it's much easier for me to conduct the sessions. So only things that I have to do is only the adjustment to the group and for the industry. That's the only challenge. Otherwise, I think I have been lecturing the same subject for more than 16 years. Strategic management for more than 16 years. Management, organizational behavior, marketing management, human resource management, financial management, accounting. All these pillars have been covered in my teaching career. So, but this is my pet subject. Normally, I would like to teach this one for the students, even at chartered the final case study. So I'm handling the final case study seminar for CA Sri Lanka. So I'm handling this content. So therefore, the content will not be a challenge for me. I think there are few things to be clarified at the beginning, and we have to structure the way that will be given more convenient for both you and also for the PM. So ultimately, the objective is to win the battle, right? So I have already uploaded some course material. I have prepared one booklet covering the whole syllabus for you. I hope you have taken a printout on that one. Right. So that include 8 chapters that cover the whole syllabus. And in addition to that, so I have uploaded PowerPoint slide. I'm going to conduct in today's class. I hope that you have received those 2 also. Right. Right. So from that end, that's fine. No, there are no issues about the material. You have seen that one.
Uploading now, future sessions.
Yeah.
Uploading little early.
Okay.
But now it seems that he has already uploaded a lot of documents, so you can earmark those things and each session or whatever.
Yeah, actually, that's why I prepare the tutorial at the beginning. Now you don't want to worry. You don't want to take 8-time printouts. To avoid that one, actually, I prepare that booklet. So that include everything about the whole syllabus, right? So that include the whole syllabus. I hope that you have taken a printout on that one. So that is for the reading purpose, right? In addition to that one, so as you have told that I will upload the coming week PowerPoint also in advance. Then I think that's much convenient for you, no? You have enough time for you to get the printout. I will try my best to upload all the PowerPoints within next week. Then I think number of time you want to get the printout will be reduced. So I'm thinking about this process, right? So I will do in that way, right? Okay, right. So my subject is what is strategic management. So I hope that you have learned this one in some other courses, and you have some idea about what is strategic management. Especially in a competitive world, this is key. So we are all in a competitive world, and our environment is always changing. We don't have a static environment. Now, if you look at about the current environment prevailing in Sri Lanka, nobody can predict what will be the situation at the end of this year. A very difficult environment. So think about from organizational point of view. So if you have a very dynamic environment like this, how can we survive? Right? It can be a competitive environment, or it can be a non-profit oriented organization like we maybe education ministry. Right? How can we survive? Right? So a lot of challenges. So since I'm in a commercial organization, I have much idea on this one, what is going on. Very difficult to survive in a environment like this actually. Very tough. Even as a person, very tough for living. Am I correct? Right. High inflations. So many people are trying to think about some other strategies. Some people trying to migrate. So a lot of chaotic environment is there. So this subject like strategic management is ideal, especially for organization to deal with these complexities and the changes happening in the environment, right? So we'll see how this particular subject help us to deal with different changes happening in the environment, right? So I just want to get some idea about yourself also. I will take that one from the physical students. Then I think I can plan my sessions in a better way, right? I hope that everyone is having a degree. Am I correct? So I hope that everyone is having a degree. Yes, no? Right. So then much easier, right? Then much easier for me to conduct my session. So you have heard these things, these are not new things. Am I correct? Right? So only the applications is required at this particular level. Right. I will come to my subject. So within this first chapter, I want to discuss three things. First of all, I want to get an idea what is strategy. Then I want to discuss what are the triggers for initiation of strategies. Then thirdly, I want to discuss about the characteristic of strategic decisions. It's a very short right, PowerPoint presentations. Right. Then chapter 2, actually, we have more things to be covered, right? Right. So we'll start from what is strategy. So how can we define a strategy? If I go for very simple definitions related with the strategy, I can say strategy I hope these online students can also see. No, right? Anyway, I will not use much board, right? Strategy, if I go for very short definitions of strategy, I can say it's a course of action. A course of action designed to achieve a specific objective. Very simple definition. I started my discussion from a very simple definition. So a course of action designed to achieve a specific objective. Now, if you look at about my definitions, it's very clear. Strategy is closely connected with the objectives. Right? Strategy is closely connected with the objective. So if you look at about strategy, so strategy define how we are going to achieve the objective. How we are going to achieve the objective. If you look at about these two things, actually objective is normally what do we want to achieve. It try to answer the question what do you want to achieve, right? What, and then strategy answer the questions how do we achieve it? How do we achieve it? Right? So it answer for two questions, what and how, right? So now if you look at about this, the planning area, now when we talk about plan, normally plan try to answer for these two questions. So what do we want to achieve and how do we want to achieve it? Strategy handle that the second part. How we are going to achieve the objectives. So this normally include some sort of actions, right? This normally includes some sort of actions we are going to implement to achieve the objectives, right? So I think this definition is clear for you. I will take an example and illustrate it further. Now, at the moment, you have an objective. Your objective is to complete master, no? Am I correct? Yeah. So to fulfill that particular objective, so what are the course of actions, or in other words, strategies you have identified and you are trying to implement them or executed them? What are the course of actions you have identified to achieve your current objective, right? Participate in lectures. Some of them are physically participating, some of them are participating online, right? So participate in lectures, yes. Is that enough? You want to go in depth, no? Study. You want to study what we have listen here, right? Learn here, right? You want to further study and get more understanding, no? And you want to complete your assignment. You want to write the exam. So openly, sometimes students do all the things, but not doing the final thing, right? Writing the exam, right? You want to do all these things. All these are the actions you are implementing, strategies you are implementing to achieve the objective you have set at the moment, right? Right. So in education field, so you may have identified certain objectives. If you are in a school, you may have identified a particular objective, maybe some pass rate for O levels, A level, right? Then you may be working hard to achieve that particular objective. There are certain objectives you have identified. Maybe, right, additional work given for the students, maybe additional sessions, right? Many things, no? Maybe, right, sometimes at your level, there may be some innovations. I have seen that in the school, there are some people, right, who go beyond from the traditional methods and they try to innovate the things and try to achieve their objectives, no? So similar thing is covered here, right? So then I will move to this more detailed definition related with the strategy. So we look at about this strategy. Strategy is something that provides the direction for the organizations. It provides the directions, and it provides and it defines the scope for the organizations and for a longer period of time. Now, remember, whenever we talk about strategic plan, normally that is related with long term. That's not something short term. For example, if you are going to prepare a strategic plan for yourself, that should not be a short term one. It should be a long term plan, right? So that is one of the things. Strategy normally deal with this long term, and from the organizational point of view, to deal with the strategy is to get some competitive advantage over others. Get some competitive advantage over others. You know what is competitive advantage, no? Right? So you want to run extra mile compared with others in simple terms, right? It's very tough in a competitive environment, changing environment, very tough to make sure you are getting some additional miles compared with others. I will take 100 meters, for example, right? So if you want to get some advantage, you have to defeat all others, no? Am I correct? You say take, we'll say some of the players like Virat Kohli, or we'll say Lionel Messi. The whole world is talking about these guys now these days. Right? We'll say, for example. So how he get a competitive advantage to other players? There may be certain strategies he may use, right? Right. So this is something actually, this gives a competitive advantage. What I have heard about Messi or Kohli, and these people are training more than others. That is one of the things, right? You can see how they are doing or how they are performing in their respective field, right? More than 8 to 9 hours training, hard, right? Training, no? So through that, they get that particular competitive advantage. They have their own strategies to get a competitive advantage. So in the strategy also, our objective is to get a competitive advantage, right? So sometimes there may be some case studies you may have also experienced in your life. For example, in your school, maybe to make sure that it becomes the best school in the zone, right? Get the best pass rate. you may have worked hard on that. Do you have a target like that? Should know. You want to work hard and make sure that that particular school is better than other school in the area, no? So you work hard on that one. So by using different strategies, what we want to get some advantage, right? We want to get some advantage for the organizations. So normally when you are getting the advantage, so one of the things that we are trying to do is we are trying to use our resources, right? We are trying to use our resources, right? We want to make sure our resources are implemented or used in the best way. Configuration of resources in the best way, right? So resources in organization context, there are different type of resources. There are different type of people, right? Some of them are threshold resources, some of them are unique resources, right? By deploying these resources, ultimately, we want to get this competitive advantage, right? So, but this will not be an easy task, especially with the environment we are dealing. So our environment is not static smart. It is changing, right? So the macro environment factors these days, can you guess what will happen to the rupee at the end of this year? Can you say? People are, if you look at about this social media, there's a war, no? Am I correct? There are different people who are coming with different right, opinion. So, but very difficult. Am I correct? Because our environment is changing. Now think about the environment we experienced last year. Sometimes you may have not experienced that type of right life in the whole your life. I am so right. That may be a novel experience for you, right? So, but now it's a different story. No, now it has been changed again. So people thought this would become a Zimbabwe, right? Zimbabwe. There are a lot of examples. No, people Pandit came and right. You see, right? You saw actually, right? Different opinions, but very tough. It depends on how we are going to react on these things. So strategy is something we deal with this changing environment, right? So for example, if you look at the commercial organization, for example, so many organizations struggled last year. Still, there are some organizations who perform really well. Still, their strategy may be better compared to other organizations, right? So Dialog suffered loss of 37 billion, highest in the history. 37 billion, right? But it's a different story for a company like this Lanka IOC. It's a different story. There's also opportunity for them and they perform really well. Huge profit, I saw, right, in their financial statement, right? So even banks struggle, some of the banks struggle, right? So it depends on the strategy you are going to craft, right? So in this changing environment, so we want to define what is the best thing we can do, right? So ultimately, what we want to do, by implementing all these things, we want to meet the needs of the markets. And there are some stakeholders interested about our activities, stakeholders. And ultimately, we want to fulfill the expectation of our stakeholders, right? You know who is a stakeholder? Who is a stakeholder? Huh? Someone who is interested about the organizational activities, no? We call it as stakeholders. There are different types of stakeholders. It can be a customer. Here, right? Better to come physically, no? If you are living close, right? Then I think you can avoid a lot of problems, right? So, so online, one thing is you should have a good considerations. So especially when you are connecting online, you don't have a good focus ability, very tough for you, right? Because no one is going to control your environment. Anyway, there are some guys, they have, majority have, right? Have a good focus and considerations. And in that scenario, you don't want to come physically at all, right? Right. So I think strategy, what is strategy is clear for you. Am I correct? right? So our whole subject deal with strategy, remember. So that's why we started our discussion from the strategy. So already you know that normally the objective of using a strategy is to achieve the objective you have set. You want to achieve the objective you have set. In other words, it should deliver the objective, right? Then I told you by doing all these things, we want to get a competitive advantage. You want to run extra mile compared with the others, right? Right. But these things should be done in a more complex scenario and more uncertain environment. Right. So then I'm moving to my next discussion. 6 areas for decision making. So some of them already covered in my earlier discussions. So I try to define what is strategy for you and try to illustrate main features associated with that one, right? So I told you, normally whenever we talk about the strategy, we deal with the long term, not short term, right? Now, if I ask a questions, right? Do institutions have strategic plan? What is your answer? Yes, education ministry should have a strategic plan. Your particular zone or your school should have a strategic plan, no? Right? Are they dealing with short term? Huh? Yes, I'm talking about strategic plan, final plan. I'm talking, that is long term. Annual plan is the implementations, no? How we are going to implement that one in each year, right? Budget, one of the main tool you use, no? Am I correct? Right? Yes. Normally, what I have experienced in my life is strategies normally, right, deal with the long term. If you look at our strategic plan, normally we prepare a strategic plan for next 3 or 5 year period. Where you will not find even 2 years, not I have found in my life. Right? Minimum period is 3 years. Right? Some organizations have a 5-year plan. Some organizations have 10 years plan, 20 years plan. Right? So that is first thing you want to know. Right? Then if you look at about these strategic plan, these strategic plans are normally dealing with the total organizations. But I'm talking about the overall level plan. Right? For example, let's say education have a plan. When they prepare a plan, they talk about the whole Sri Lanka, not about one particular area. So they may have sub-plan, that's a different story. When you talk about the overall strategic plan, normally that deal with the total organizations, right? So I told you the objective of using this plan is to get a competitive advantage. We want to run extra mile compared with the others. That is one thing. Then very important, right? So you want to, right, adapt yourself to the changing environment. The strategic plan are helpful to adjust yourself to the changing environment. Now I have questions for you. My question is, I told you strategic plan is prepared for the next 3 years or 5 years period, right? 3 years or 5 years period. Then environment is changing during those periods. How can strategic plan help you to adjust yourself? Huh? Rolling plan. In simple term, we review, no? Am I correct? From time to time, we review our plan, right? Review our plan and then we adjust it to face the changes in the environment. This is not a document you prepare and, right, you are not, again, not looking at. No, right? So time to time, you look at about this one. And then you introduce the changes accordingly. Now think about this simple level in this country. Now with the COVID pandemic scenario, so we had to change the time period, no? Am I correct? Still not in the right time, no? Am I correct? Normally LOL is in August, no? Am I correct? But still, I'm not sure about whether this next year also will be conducted in August. Still, we have not adjusted ourselves. There is something wrong with our system. We don't want to talk on those things, right? Right. Normally, right, if you have a good plan, So you should be, right, able to adjust yourself, right, to the changing environment. As a person also, you have to adjust yourself. Am I correct? I'm sure that you have a plan. You have a nice vision, no? Right? So in your respective profession, you should have a strategic plan and dealing with that one and achieving that one. You work hard to achieve that particular plan. Am I correct? Right? So different personal goals are there, no? So you try to hit that one. Now, for example, right, you say here you try to have a small objective, maybe to get the back shop in the master. That's fantastic, no? Am I correct? Right? So you should have prepare your own plan, right? So merit, you can get a merit, no? Right? So for a particular subject, you can get the first of order merit, or first position, you can achieve the first position, right? Yes, those are the dreams you should have. You should have your own strategic plan. You should have defined after 3 years what is your position. Am I correct? Right. So openly when you talk with the people, and I just try to apply this one to yourself, right? So this I do a very simple example. Recently, I asked sometimes I'm talking to these people. I asked one of the typists to come and had a chat. I asked, what is your future expectations? Right? They'll say, I want to stay here in my lifetime, right? And I want to retire from here. You know, then I say, what is your age? 27 years old. Right? 27 years old. Then I said that type is the lowest grade, no? Normally in an organization. Am I correct? What are the lowest grade? Right? Then I say, now how many years you have? 60, no? 33 years. Your future almost 40 to 50% of your life. Then I ask, why don't you try to become, we'll say, CEO here, GM here? Why don't you have a plan like that? No. Right? So I don't want such status. I want to make my son become a such position. Then I ask, how many years of old son? Right? 3.5 years old. Right? You think about the next generation, still you are at the beginning of your career, but you are not trying to achieve what you can achieve in your life. That is one of the things, no? Issues of the people. Right? So you should have your own strategic plan. That's why I'm telling these things. Right? So you should adjust yourself to the environment. Right? So some of the strategies should be used for survival purpose. Right? Now with this inflation scenario, it's not easy for you. You can't go with your normal plan. Am I correct? For example, currently what happened was from my salary, over 100,000 was deducted as pay tax. Then how do you feel? Over 100,000 was deducted as pay tax from my salary. Right? In addition to that one, from additional income also, I have to pay 36% income tax. Whatever additional income I have received, we'll say tuition fee, right? Because I have registered the income tax department and I'm disclosing my income. Right? Very tough, no? Am I correct? Inflation is skyrocketing. Right? It's going up continuous basis. So you have to find some strategies. I started to write my income and expenses like my early days. Right? So because there was a time, no, everyone had a hardship and how you survive in the university with the Mahapala. And right, there was a time period like that, no? Most of you may have experienced, right? Again, you try to identify what are the expenses and you try to reduce those things, right? Adjustability is required. That is what I am telling you. Environment is changing, but you want to adjust yourself, adapt to those changes, right? Right. Then next one is normally organizations use their resources and competencies to achieve their objectives. Strategy is driven, right? Strategy is driven by these employees in your organization who drive the plan. You may drive the plan, am I correct? Your bosses prepare a nice plan. They are in rooms and no, right? They never come to the field. You are the one who go to the field and work hard to achieve the plan. Am I correct? So resources Now we use resources to drive our strategy. So when you talk about resources later, we'll discuss this one in details. So resources are different. Take human resources. Are they homogeneous in nature or heterogeneous in nature? Right? So they are different, no? Am I correct? So in organizational environment, you have different type of resources. Attitude is different, qualification is different. Right? So some of them are unique resources. Unique resources mean they are completely different from others, and they can drive you to get the advantage. If you use them properly, they will drive you to get the advantage. Right? I'm not talking about the qualifications, right? I'm talking about the abilities. Qualification will not be a matter. I'm sure that you have experienced a lot. Sometimes people have a lot of qualifications. But in practical environment, they fail. Am I correct? So nice qualification, but not driving attitude is key. Am I correct? Right? A good example, right? Recently, we see one of team leader told me that I gave a new guy to him for his team, drive his work. Right? SEMA qualified accountant. After some time, he came and say, I don't want that guy. SEMA qualified, degree, SEMA, masters, MSc also in New Zealand. 4 qualifications. Right? Enough now, everything is, this guy is having everything. I don't want that guy. Then I asked, what type of guy you need? He showed me one of the trainee, just completed ALL and joined as a chartered accounting trainee, accountancy trainee. I need that guy. That guy is better than this person. Right? See, this is a very simple example, right? So then I asked, what are the specialty of that guy? So because this other guy is very highly qualified, no? See, he say attitude is good. He say first of all, when he go for the work, switch off the phone. That's the first thing that trainee, right, normally does. Right? Switch off the phone, right? Then no other talking with, right? No other talking. Do the work. Then I asked, how about this highly qualified manager I have gone for you? How many calls this guy get? Right? Attitude, very tough. If I ask to type the thing, this guy never type. Right? He just write and give it. This computer, you can do these things, no? Right? So very tough. Right? So what I'm here is unique resources, not the qualifications. What I want to tell you, right? Unique resources, the abilities, right? How they are good at doing their work. Sometimes attitude may be key in their aspects, right? Right. Then whenever we take strategic decisions, you want to do one thing. We have to look at about the expectation of others, especially the expectation of stakeholders, right? Stakeholders, people who are interested about the organization, their expectation should be taken into the account. You want to consider their expectations, right? Because organizations exist to fulfill the expectation of the stakeholders. If you have not considered their expectations, then your exercise will not be worth, right? So you must take consideration of their expectations, right? For example, you say if you are in a political organization, do you want to take the expectation of politicians? Should consider, no? They are one of the stakeholders, right? You have to consider that one. Do you want to consider about your customers, students? Yes, you have to consider their expectations, right? For the survival purpose, right? Any questions from this area? Is that fine for you? Okay, no questions, right? Right. My next topic is triggers for the initiation of strategies. Triggers for the initiation of strategies. Right. So to come up with the strategies, right? So sometimes you have to come up with some innovative strategies, right? Those are created as triggers. Triggers is something that give the realization of the need for actions, right? Realization of the need for actions. It need to realize there should be something to be done, and you have to do something, right? Right. So if you look at about these triggers to come up with strategies, most of them are external triggers. Some of them are internal triggers, right? Internal and external triggers, right? You know what is internal and external. Internal, it comes from within the organization. No? The source is internal, right? External mean it comes from the outside the organizations, right? What is your experience in implementing strategies in a discussions? What you can feel? Have you heard that word in Sri Lankan context? Right? That is very common. That's what I have seen. When you come up with something and when you tell to others, practical. Right? So often what happens is resistance come from different sources. When you are trying to introduce some changes, new actions, strategies, resistance come. Resistance may be due to certain factors. Especially in Sri Lankan context, people are reluctant to go out from their comfort zone. Do you agree? Right? You prefer to deal with the status quo. Right? So you don't want to go out of what is you are doing at the present. When you set with an organization, you are reluctant to leave. Am I correct? Right? So when I was coming inside, I found one of my previous organization employee. I had a chat, I think Bank of Ceylon, right? So they had a workshop today, right? So normally you say people are reluctant to leave, no, I left from there. Pensionable job, right? Very clear future was there, right? So that's nature of the people. When you find a place, you think that it's really good for you, meet your requirement. Sometimes you are reluctant to leave your friends, right? So sometimes you are reluctant to leave your friends, right? Or maybe the environment, right? So you stay there. In the organization also the same thing. When you are doing something in a particular way for so many years, you are right? You are comfort with that one, right? So then when you're trying to do something new, what happened? You resist. There are different reasons, right? And you are not allowing to implement that one in practice. That's happened, right? So you should be very tactful, right? So Jayanta said, no, you should like frogs, no? Right? So you should be very tactful in implementing the strategy, right? So that should be done, right? Right. So that is one of the things I want to highlight. So there will be a resistance always when you are trying to implement something. Right? There may be different reasons. Sometimes adjustment problems, right? For example, new technological things, especially older generation resist the things when you try to implement new things. Think about, for example, you say IT system, implementation of IT system in the organizations. How do you feel? Old generations. Resist. Am I correct? So they fear that they will not be able to adjust, right? Oh, various reasons. Sometimes I have seen this. Sometimes it happen. For example, information are kept with some selected individual, right? You see, if you implement a system, what will happen is the information is available to everyone. You kept that information and you got a competitive advantage in the real environment, right? You think if system is implemented, you will lose that competitive advantage. Others will also come to know the information, right? Very common, right? Or sometimes job security, You feel now system, if the system is implemented, surely your job will not required in the future. Am I correct? So very difficult, right? For example, I have a good example. When I joined with one of the organizations, not tell the name, right? So I want to do a small change. Because there was a system, within the system, invoice can be created, but payment vouchers can't be created. Payment voucher process was manual, right? And what happened? Manual, you prepare a payment voucher, then manual you write a check, right? And then, right? After that, what you do? You accounting, any accountant here? Accounting? No accountant, right? So what you have to do, normally you have to include that one into the system also, no? You have to record keeping the information, no? Again, what happened in the system? Again, you enter that payment information in the system. Now see, now what I try is, I say, what is the meaning of this? Now see how many manual processes are there, because automatic system is there. You are not using the system concept, but later again you put the information. Manual process is there, pre-hand the vouchers, you can get the right check from the system itself, printers one. I tried to implement this one. The lady who was doing that one was the first one who resisted this. Right? Why? She saying that earlier she only come to know about this check information. She was writing the checks, no? She thought that this is a privileged job, right? So writing a check is a privileged job, right? That work will not be done in the future. Very tough, right? This resistance come. So you should be tractable. I'll give another example. Another organization, when I joined, all the report were prepared in single medium. Single medium. Then what happened? You manually write, then those documents are given to typist, right? Then that person type it, right? Then there were 4 typists when I joined that organization. For that work we only report writing work, 4 typists, right? I asked, right, the respective people, gave the computers, laptops, asked them to type the reports. I say I would review it. I would review it, right? Very tough, right? So lot of resistance, right? But at the end, I reduce all 4 typists. I remove all 4 typists. Natural date, you know, retire now, guys. So when they retire, then you don't want to get a new one, no? Right? So sometimes what I did, sometimes team leaders say, I can't write this one in English. Sinhala, no? They say, you write it and send it to me. I convert that one, I type myself. Right? So it's not tough work, not easy actually. It's very tough work. Right? So this one, right? There will be a resistance due to various reasons when you are trying to implement something new. Strategy, not an easy task. Right? Right. So why we want to use strategies? The reason is actually change. Earlier also we identified that things are changing, not fixed. So we have to adjust our self and do the changes. Right. So at the beginning, I told you there are 2 types of triggers: internal triggers and the external triggers. Right? Internal and external triggers. So first of all, we'll talk about the external triggers. External triggers, reasons that lead to make changes in your strategy. So come up with new strategies. So triggers can be direct or indirect, right? Direct or indirect. So what is direct? So direct are dealing with the microenvironment. If you look at about the environment, so environment can be divided into 2 right? Environment can be divided into two. Internal, other one is external, internal environment and external environment. Then external environment, internal mean within, no? Internal mean within, external mean outside, right? External environment can be divided into two, micro, macro. Or we can class here, macro. Micro, macro environment, right? Here, this direct mean micro. External environment here divided into two, direct and indirect triggers, right? So micro, normally micro environment include external stakeholders. External stakeholders. Parties who can be found outside the organization and who are interested about the organization activities. External stakeholders, then macro environment normally include growth forces in the economy. Growth forces in the economy. Growth forces in the economy. So we simply use pestle word to identify the growth forces in the economy. Pestle. And we use pestle word PSTEL. That's okay. There are different variations of this. It can be pest, right? You can use different variations. Nothing worry on that, right? Right. So here, if you look at about these triggers, I told you direct and indirect triggers, external triggers can be divided into here direct related with the micro part. Direct related with the micro part. So direct mean related with this one, right? Then indirect triggers connect with the macro environment. These indirect triggers, right? Direct and indirect triggers, right? Right. Now, if you look at about these indirect triggers, those are not direct, right? Indirect triggers. So within that one, we can identify pestle factors. You know what is pestle factors, right? So pests. The main model is actually pests. Historically, we use the pest one. Pest ki saman sattu untane. Yamane? Amai kare. Ara podi podi sattu inne ne. Right? So pestle. So here pestle, the political, economic, technological, legal, then environmental, ecological factors, right? So political, I'm not going for detailed discussion here, right? Just to introduce this one. Later we'll discuss this one in detail, right? Changes in the political environment affect to the organizations. I'm sure you have experienced that one in your whole life, right? How this when the government change, right? How it affected you, right? Again, whole plan. Recently, I had a chat with one of my friends in the education ministry. She told me that මොකද උනේ අලුත් කන්සල්ටන්ට් කෙනෙක් ආවා එයා අර දැන් අලුතෙන් හදපු plan එක හරියන්නේ නැහැ කියනවා එයා. Right? He want to prepare the plan again from the beginning. Strategic plan, she told me. Minister මාරුණා එයා අලුත් කන්සල්ටන්ට් කෙනෙක් දැම්මා. එයාට ඕනේ. He told me like that. I don't know. Right? So what happened is when the political environment changed, right? So we want to, right, come up with different strategies. New strategies should be introduced, right? Now, for example, see, now in Sri Lanka, for example. So what is if I ask a questions, What went wrong with us? What is required for the future? What is your answer? Forget about the past. Right? So what should be the appropriate strategies? What do you recommend? I am asking. Now we'll say now different political area is there. Now we want to develop our country, right? So what should be the appropriate strategy? What do you think? Anything? So those are, sometimes those may be true, sometimes those may not be true. Right? So sometimes what happens, that is also opinion created. No? These are opinion storytelling. You know what is storytelling? You have to create a story. Right? You have to create a story and we try to go with that particular story. What is required? What do you think? Should be more export-oriented economy. Very simple, right? But we have done it. You may have seen some of the people. Sometimes for their children expenses, right? You find people like that, no? Right? So what happened was there's a triggering point, right? You can't go beyond that particular point, right? So we also use the same strategy for the economy. Very simple. If you analyze the things, what we have done is we have spent more than what we have earned. So we have taken loans. Those are domestic loan and the foreign loan. Now, we are unable to meet the requirement in foreign loan. No, am I correct? We can't pay the foreign loans, right? Local funds, local still we are paying, right? So too much government expenditure is more than the income. Very simple strategy. So we have to go with external side. You should export more than the import. That's the first thing. No, internal side government income should be increase and it should be more than the expenses. From the taxes, what they try to do is increase income. No, very simple two strategies, right? Corruption, those things, different story, right? You have to address those things that may help you to reduce the expenses. Am I correct? Government expenditure may be reduced as a result of that one, no? Right? Right. So political, economical environment, you look at the economic environment. So we talk about hyperinflations. Hyperinflations. What is hyperinflations? So inflation is very high, no, in Sri Lanka. Am I correct? So how can you survive in this there? Expenses increase. Now you say you have got a budget, right? You say you want to get computers for the school, very simple example. Now whatever the computer prices, double. When the budget was prepared, maybe you'll say 100,000, now it's 200,000. Number, can you buy the number of computers you require? Not easy, no? It's very tough, right? So you have to come up with strategy on that one. Social, there are some social changes happening. Now the younger generation is completely different. The way they are thinking, right? Very difficult. Change is happening. You have to face that changes. Right, then technologicals, I don't want to talk about technological changes. We talk about some of the new changes like AI, right? ChatGPT. How many people use ChatGPT? How many people use ChatGPT in the class? No one is, right? No one is using, right? So those are technical changes, right? So you have to adapt that. You have to adapt yourself to those changes, right? So legal environment, lot of changes in legal front, right? So chat that can be used for education purpose, for example. It's similar to Google. It's an AI app, right? Similar to Google. So people think Google will be replaced. to ChatGPT. I have included note the last topic. We'll have a discussion on that one. Huh? Yeah. It's replace Google simply. That is what is expected. Right? So in the booklet, I think last topic, it should be there. I have gone a note on that. Technological, we are discussing new technological areas, right? No one has taken the printout of booklet. Booklet is available. Am I correct? Yes. No. In the first chapter, first session, I have included that part. Right. Yeah. So that covers the whole topic, right? Whole syllabus actually, right? It covers the whole syllabus. Right here, I'm discussing only a PowerPoint presentation now. I have given a detailed note for you. Right? You get a printout of that one and you study that one. Within the PowerPoint also, I have extracted the things and discussing here. Right. So in addition to that one, you can read these two books. I forget to tell that one at the beginning. If you want to know more, you can read this one, Crafting an Executive Strategy. Thompson and Strickland book. You can read this one. Right. Crafting and Executing Strategy. I have all new versions and the new version also, old one. Right. You can read this one. You can read the new versions. Right. Thompson and Strickland. Maybe when you say Thompson's, there are 5 authors, but initially actually this book was written by 2 guys, Thompson and Strickland. Now in this version, there are 5 guys, right? Then this one, you can read this one, Exploring Strategy. This is the most popular one in the world, Exploring Strategy. Exploring Strategy, I think I have uploaded a soft copy of this one of the soft copy. Have you found that one? Right? Yes. This Johnson's and Scholars. Those are the first two guys who involved in this book. That's why I prepare a separate note and given for you. I know in practice you are not going to read it. Right? So that booklet is enough. Huh? So everything I have covered that one. Right? To get a printout of that, study on that one. No need to worry about the PowerPoint presentation also. I've extracted from the note. Right? So legal, then ecological environment. People talk about global warming these days. Global warming, rise in sea level, changes in some other climate. We are talking about some earthquake possibility in Sri Lanka. The last few weeks, no? That was very hot topic. Right? So those changes, right, lead to introduce some changes. Right? Then if you go to this indirect one, indirect environment, right? Direct environment. Actually, direct environment, we can use the Fortas 5 process model to analyze the direct environment. Right? That is more relevant with business organization. Therefore, I don't want to have a discussion. I don't want to discuss that part. Right? So the direct part, we can use this 5 forces model. 5 forces that was introduced by Michael Porter. Right? 5 forces model to analyze this direct environment. That identify 5 forces. Right? 5 forces which determine the attractiveness of your industry. 5 forces together determine the attractiveness of your industry. What are those 5 forces? The rivalry among existing players, the competition among existing players, threat of new entrants, threat coming from possible new entrants to the industry, threat of substitutes, right? then bargaining power of customers, bargaining power of suppliers, right? So anyway, don't worry. So I'm not going to discuss that part in details. Therefore, nothing to worry, not tested in the paper, right? Right. If I make that one, it will be very complicated. I need at least 4 hours to discuss this, right? Right. Then we'll look at about these internal triggers. Internal triggers, right? Right. That come internal environments. These triggers come from internal environment, right? So one of the best example is changes of the leadership. Have experienced that one in your organization. When a new guy comes, that guy introduced a lot of changes. Yes or no? Huh? Yes, no? Right? There are some guys who don't want to do any change, right? They maintain the prevailing situation as it is. But there are some guys always they challenge the status quo, right? They challenge the status quo and try to introduce some changes, right? So coming up with a new CEO, for example, he may introduce some changes, new strategies to the organizations, right? Then management style may be changed. You can see sometimes autocratic leader come, sometimes democratic leader come. If you have experience, if you have worked with a democratic leader, if a new autocratic leader come, automatically you feel something different. Am I correct? You do this, no? Some people actually. But there are some guys in the organization, they are really good, right? Right in that one, no? Right? So that is one of the examples, right? Reorganizations. Sometimes you do some changes within the organization itself. Maybe some new departments are added, right? Which says, I don't know whether there's a digital divisions in education ministry. Isn't digital? Yes, like that, no? There were new introductions, no? Right? So division restructuring within the division itself, there are some changes introduced, right? So maybe even not easy sometimes. So what I experienced is one day, I would example, I changed the place of one guy. There were 2 people always talking, right? One day I asked those 2 persons and say that I have complained also. Even myself, I have observed. I can't quote others, no? I say myself, I have observed that both of you are not working much and doing, talking continuously, right? Not listening. What should be the next thing? Change the place. Then came and asked, right? There's an office manager in some organization, I say maybe administrative manager. That person should execute that one. HR matters are handled by that guy, no? Right? I asked that guy, do the change, right? Yes, that guy did it. Right? So our guys like that, no? Right? They can't do something, right? Execute. Came and asked. I said, it's a management decision. You don't have the freedom to raise questions. It's management decisions. Very simple example, no? Do you know how many problems I have faced after that, right? So then lot of issues. Union, then my own boss came and asked, right? See, this is a small change from one place to another. Right? Very tough actually. Right? In Sri Lanka, I don't know whether you may have a lot of experience sometimes than me, right? So very difficult, no? Right? So not easy. Divisional restructure, very simple. I'm talking about physical settings. Change a small physical setting change. Not easy. So very tough, right? Then there may be certain other program going on these days, organization cost reductions program that need new strategies. Even I'm sure that at your organization level also, there may be some strategies, no? Cost reduction. Even see this last week, I saw that this, what happened in this fuel quota system, date was changed, no? Earlier, this repeal was done on Monday, I think, no? Monday, right, then Saturday and Sunday, they had to work, no? Right? Now it was shifted to the Tuesday to cut the cost, overtime cost. Right? Then I think they don't want to work on Sunday. The filling should not be done, no, on Sundays. That's the reason, right? See, cost reduction program that also may, right, lead for introduce of new strategies, right? Then personal changes. Personal changes. I remember when I was working in one of the organization, HR system, organization brought a new HR system, but failed to introduce for more than 2 to 3 years. When I had a chat with the people in that department, HR department, Machan, the problem is the head, right? Head can't implement that part. Yeah, so he was living with the HR for the 30 to 40 years in this manual, no? Already purchased, top management purchased, this guy is not implementing. So, see this, until that guy retired, system was not introduced. When that guy retired, system was introduced. Right? So that is one of the reasons. Right? That happened actually. Right? So commonly, I remember 2 days back, I had a chat with one of the guy in my organization, relevant to one of the functions in one of the other divisions. He said that this cannot be changed because of one guy, the guy he is handling. He said, don't worry, sir. This will be changed within this year. I asked, how? Once you retire, right? Then we can change that one. So people wait, no? So when a new guy comes, the people change, retire, then what you can do is you can introduce new strategies, right? Right. So we'll go to the next topic, this characteristic of strategic decisions. Characteristic of strategic decisions. Right, what is the procedure? Normally, do you have a break also in the middle? Normally you have 10:30, no? How many minutes? 15 or 20 minutes? 15. Okay. We'll continue. Still, all right, we have time, right? So, characteristic of strategic decisions. Yes, sir.
So you can give your break. I can arrange something that we will also look after.
So, after 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Give it.
So I don't have to time, you know, there.
Okay. Okay. Right. So we'll look at about characteristic of strategic decision. Characteristic of strategic decisions. So these are characteristics of strategic decisions. One is complex. It's not easy. Why? We have a system now. Now, if you take an organization, it's a system. Why it's a system? There are so many components, so many departments, divisions, unit, people, very complicated. All these are together create the total organization. So when you are taking the decision, you have to look at about the whole organization. These elements are connected together, right? So that is one of the things. Complicated, not an easy environment. You have to make decisions in a complicated environment. Then at the same time, uncertainty, right? So especially uncertainty comes to the external environment, right? External environment. So what happened is we can't predict the environment. We can't predict what will happen after 6-month period, 8-month period. Always uncertainty is there. Within this uncertain environment, we are going to make the decisions, right? Right. Then next one is whenever you take strategic decisions that have an impact to the whole organization, especially for the bottom level. these things are affect the bottom level, operational level, right? For example, when you have taken a decision, it will affect to the teachers. No, am I correct? Yes or no? Yes, right? So they are the implementers. No, operational level that will be affected, right? Then, as I had told you, that affect to the entire organizations, right? There may be certain boundaries. Can't you see this one? Zoom link is given. Use no? Zoom nede use කරන්නේ. මම හිතන්නේ දැන් සමහරට කොහොම මැසේජ් එක අහම පොඩ්ඩක් අනිත් පැත්තට එන්නේ නැහැ උටස්. මේ ස්ට්‍රීමින් ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇති. Right. I hope online students can listen here, no issue. Right. Right. Then, so since this is a right affect to the whole organization, you have to be very careful. You have to consider about the different relationship, and integrated approach should be used. You have to think about how it affects to the everything in the organizations. Then the change, right? Change. So always strategic decisions lead for change. Take simple example, say for the manual system, in place of manual system, we are going to introduce a IT system, right? So that involves change. As earlier we discussed, when you are going to do change, what happened? Resistance come, no? Not easy. Organization environment not allowing you to do that one. Culture, you know that, no? Culture matter, no? Am I correct? Yes or no? Culture matters. Many people ignore culture factor, but culture matters, right? So, what is culture? What is organizational culture? If I ask a very simple question, what is organizational culture? Huh? Certain norms, right? Simple way, if I say simple way, I will say the way things are done. Am I correct? Yes. How the things are happening within the organizations. Yes, as she has told, there may be norms, values, belief, attitudes. Yes, right? So very difficult. These are like iceberg, right? Very difficult to break, right? So when you are trying to introduce something new, so people are not allowing you to do that. Resistance comes, right? Right. So then, right. Then with that, we can complete the first chapter. Right. What are the questions you have? Online people, they can unmute the mic and ask if they have any questions, right? Or they can send a message. They can send a message. Physical students, so what are the questions you have? Have you understood what I have delivered? Right? Okay, right? If you need anything, you can suggest for that. I am willing to accept your suggestion, right? This open book one. Then it will be much difficult for you, right? For example, say my experience will say, for example, we are having this open book. Very difficult because case study should be given in that scenario. It will be more complicated, right? You can handle it. No, you can write these things are not difficult. Difficult? Huh? For the other subject, open book. All right, right. We'll have a discussion with PAM. If they are willing to do that, no issue, my side. Right? Huh? All right, right. So we'll decide it, right? Then it will be difficult, man. Because application, no, you have to do the applications in open book environment. So normally I think it's not open book, it's easier for you. Open book, because you can't ask theory, no, then what you have to do is you have to look at the note and then just write it now. Right? Then you have to do the more applications. My personal experience is very tough. When it become open book, it's very tough. Right? Because the application should be tested, no, right? So anyway, if you say, if you want open book, I can do it. No issue. Right? So we'll have a discussion and then decide it. Right? Anyway, you have to go to that booklet, no, only 78 pages like that, I think. How many pages? 88. Huh? So we'll see. Right. Right. Then I will stop for a break. Right. Maybe until 10:50. You can get the break. After that, again, will be right. Right, so welcome back. I hope online students can also hear. Right. So we are moving to chapter number 2. Chapter number 2. Chapter number 1 was relatively a short chapter, where we try to get an understanding about what is strategic management, right? Especially we talk about what is strategy and the nature of the strategic decisions and what are triggers for initiation of the strategies. Now here under chapter number 2, we are going to discuss the strategic management process. This is the key, because our whole syllabus will be based on this. The process we are going to discuss here will be covered within the whole syllabus. Right? Therefore, understanding of this one is very important. You have to get a proper understanding. If you are not got proper understanding, then you will struggle actually. You will struggle, right? So I will try to introduce what is strategic planning process. I'm sure that you have some experience. You can share your experience even, right? How you have done this one. So through this strategic planning process, we are going to learn how to prepare a strategic plan. That is learned from this particular process. How to prepare a strategic plan. Now you know what is strategic plan. What is strategic plan? One thing you know, it is a long-term plan that provide a competitive advantage, right? There is 2 known facts for you, right? It's a long-term plan that provide a competitive advantage. Now we are going to learn that particular process, the process of developing the strategic plan, right? In the business world, the same is called as corporate plan. Sometimes call it as business plan, right? Different words used to identify the same. Here we try to identify some steps to be used to prepare our strategic plan. Steps to be used to prepare our strategic plan. Now, when you have incorporate what we have discussed within the strategic plan, right? Or when we have documented all what we have discussed, that particular document is called as strategic plan. Things we are going to identify here will be documented. So when you incorporate those things in the document, that is called strategic plan, right? So normally these strategic plans are not open document for open document in commercial organization. If I repeat again what I have told you, this strategic plan is not an open document in commercial organizations. Why strategic plan is not an open document in strategic in business organizations or in other? Yes. So we are in a competitive environment. No? So this identify what we are going to do in the next few years. If competitors come to know this, what will happen? So they will come up with similar strategies and we will lose the competitive advantage. Therefore, normally for the business organization point of view, this is not a open document. Even for the non-profit organizations, rarely you can see this one as a open document, right? So that is the main reasons, right? If I take, we'll say dialogue, for example, Dialogue is going to prepare a strategic plan, right? If Mobitel come to know what they are going to do, so what will they do, right? They will come up with a similar plan and you will lose the competitive advantage, right? So we'll take from your entity point of view. Now, suppose you are working in a school. How many people are in schools? Only one? Others are all in ministry. Ministry. All right. Training colleges. Huh? Zonal education. Right? Right. So you are the only one, no? Right. Anyway, I'm sure that online some people are there, right? So you say school levels, for example. You say now, if you take another school, you want to ensure more pass rate in 5th year scholarship exam, right? So how can you do that? If your strategy are captured by other school, what will happen? So you will not get the same result, no? Am I correct? Right? Similar, huh? Allow. Yeah, that should be, because we are talking about the education system now, overall education system. You share that one, but commercial organizations, that is not allowed, right? Right. Then what are the things we have to do here? What are the steps to be followed? There's no one particular order that can be used. The order may be vary, depending on the situation, and writers come up with different steps. But if you look at the core of them, core is similar, right? So now if you look at about this, now when you are going for strategic planning work, you can start with conducting current environment evaluations. Current environment evaluations, right? When you look at about the environment, your current environment, it can be divided into two main areas. What are the two main areas? Internal environment and the external environment. So you can look at about both your internal environment and external environment, right? So if you look at about the internal environment, so normally we can identify two things, no? Strength and the weaknesses. Strength and the weaknesses. If you look at about the strength, right, that is something internal, right? That is normally helpful to achieve the organization objectives. Strengths are helpful to achieve the organization objectives, right? If you take the weaknesses, weakness is something again can be identified within the organization, but it is not helpful to achieve the organization objective, no? Act as a barrier to achieve the organizational objective. In other words, I can say harmful to achieve the organizational objectives. So we look at about our internal environment and we look at about our strengths and weaknesses, right? By evaluating our internal environment, then we look at about our external environment. The external environment, there may be micro factors or macro factors. From that, we identify the opportunities and threats. Opportunities and threats. So opportunities are normally helpful to achieve our objectives. Helpful, but threats are not helpful to achieve our objectives. Those are harmful to achieve our objectives, who act as barriers to achieve the objectives, right? So now when you take together the result of both internal and external environment, right? When you take together, so we summarize that one in SWOT analysis. SWOT is the name we use to summarize the result of both internal and external environment, right? So SWOT right. So what we have done is we look at about our internal environment. We look at about our external environment. We identify what are the helpful factors to achieve the objectives. At the same time, we identify factors which are not helpful. In other words, harmful factors, right? So internal helpful factors we identify as strength. Then helpful factors we identify as strength, and harmful factors we identify as weaknesses. Then external helpful factors we identify as opportunities. External harmful factors we identify as threats, right? Threats, then in summarized form, we call it as SWOT. SWOT. So we start this strategic planning process from that by conducting SWOT analysis, right? Right. If you do same for you, you have to do a SWOT analysis. Am I correct? Right? What are the possible, we forget the organization, we'll start from you. Right? What are the strengths if I start from that? Recently, I had the opportunity to do a lecture for a little bit more motivational session, right? 4-hour session for the people who have just completed A-level. I love to deal with these guys, then you can get an idea how these young guys are thinking, right? So then I asked them to, my session was motivation, and I want to develop a plan for them and ask them to implement that one for the next, their career. Just after A-level, right? Then I asked them to do a SWOT analysis. I start from that part. Then I ask them, identify your strength, identify weaknesses. Right? Strength, some of people identify, will say like, intelligence, strength, good, no? Right? My English is good. Should be a strength, no? In this environment, especially, no? English is good, strength, fantastic, right? Then I was more interested about to know about their weaknesses. Right? Just look at about around 150 people were there, right? I just look at about some of the answers. One was there, fake friends, weakness, right? So that was one of the point identified, fake friends. See, these are some of the problems these young guys are facing, no? Right? So they have identified. Then excessive use of social media. That was another weakness. Really, I found some of them have mentioned that eating too much. So that may be relevant to me, you know, if I do much analysis, right? So those things, right? Similar stuffs were there, right? So if I ask from your end, so what are your strengths? I'm not asking weakness. It's up to you, right? Strength. Sound education background. Huh? Yes. Strength. Right. Anything else? Huh? Hard work, yeah, good. Right. So commitment, dedications you need. Huh? Healthy person, good. Yes, in today's world you need that. Am I correct? Yes, one of the weaknesses is unhealthy lifestyle. Am I correct? Yes, today era, junk food, oily food, too much sweeters. How many issues, no? So those are the things, no? Right. In organizational perspectives, strengths, what are the strengths? If I look at about your respective organization, what are the strengths you can talk? Strength. Experienced people are there. Strength.
Good team.
Yeah. Work. Team members is different. Good. Right.
Capable individuals.
Right. Okay. Good. Good point. Right. That's fantastic. Right. So supportive, higher, flexible leader. Good. Right. Flexible leader. So in organization context, what are the weaknesses? you think genuinely, what are the weaknesses? Resistant to change. Good. Right? Anything else?
Non-hardworking staff.
Financial barrier, yes. Right? Unprofessional. Traditional way of thinking. Lack of resources. Right? Not practical enough. All right. So lot of issues. Huh? Huh? Hmm. Right. So you gave example for me, right? Right. Then because I'm explaining these things because you have 2 assignments, right? Your assignments should be based on this, right? In relevant to your respective organization, that is the individual assignment, you have to do this strategic plan, preparation of strategic plan, right? Then group assignment, you have to do this one for our education industry, right? Individual assignment for respective organization. Yeah, this process. Now, what we are learning in the whole subject, practically you have to do that one assignment. No? You have 2 assignments, no? Yeah, strategic plan. Strategic plan. Now, these are the steps. That's why I just try to elaborate a little bit more on that one. Right? Right. Then opportunities and threats. So, if you look at about education industry, what are the opportunities available? No opportunities. No opportunities. Look at this global, right? If you look at about the total market, right? Global industry. Now see how many opportunities in education field. How we cover in this Sri Lanka? Can we make it as a hub, education hub? Can. Here we have the people, right? So we have the people. But unfortunately, this is not happening. Lot of opportunities in education field. If you look at a country like Australia, New Zealand, UK, USA, so education is a business for them. See how many people are here going to UK these days. Sometimes you may have some friends, some known parties. So that's a business, guys. Right? So it's a business. Right? For example, we'll say, a good example, my chartered membership fees, it is around 20,000, our local accounting body. I have SEMA, 160,000 guys. Annual membership fee is 160,000. But our guys, how many people are doing SEMA, not chartered? We analyze the known parties. I'm looking about 2 accounting qualifications that is close related with me. That's right. Right? So SEMA is a business entity. They want to get more fund from our guys. Right? So UK also same. Right? Our guys go to masters there, MSCs there. Right? But here university, right? Here education is more, right, better than that. That is what I have experienced. So Japura and PA, that is what I have experienced. Right? So this is also Japura, no? Right? So that their education level is very high. That is what I have experienced in my life. Right? So now, but we have not capitalized those opportunities. Even South countries, how many people have capitalized? PM has capitalized, I think. They are in Bangladesh, Qatar, so they are in the global market already. How many other institutions serve for that part? Right? So rare, right? Rare, no? Am I correct? So opportunities are available, but we are not capitalizing. Right? So what are the threats? Threat is something coming from the external environment. So what are the threats? For education industry, what are the threats? Union action. Yes. Last week, 1st of March, there was a strike. Right? Myself and my boss was there in the office. No other one was there in the office. I had to be since I am part of the management, right? So I had to be, right? Then others were not there, right? I think there is an ongoing strike, no? Education industry also. Fortunately, at PAEM, I have never experienced even as a student also. I was a student here during 2012 to 13 period for my masters, right? Japura strike was when Japura was closed, no masters classes at there even. Now I know Colombo masters that has closed, no masters. There are some people in my office. See, they are very happy. Full. So because it was closed, but PM that will not happen. And here those rules are not applied, right? That's why you are here, no? Otherwise, right? You should not be here, right? Yes, strike people, no? Union action, those are threats for survival, right? Anything else? Any other threats? Huh? Didn't get the point. Political, but now it's a little bit low, no? Now, I think there's a change. That's what I have experienced. Some change is happening. Happening means that people started to rise themselves, even in the organization level. Am I correct? Not these days, still same. In the future, you expect that one. Still high. Right. Those are very difficult stuffs, no? That is what is, yes, those are very challenging. Because what happened is, normally, that is what I have experienced also with some of the government organizations. What happened is, normally, there's a culture. You should be a part of political union sometime. Through that, you can get the promotion, your transfer. Am I correct? The people who are not connected with them are unhappy. Am I correct? That's the problem. So the bad culture continuing. Right. Anything else? No competitions for you. Educations, school, government school, no competitions. Tuitions. Right. Private school, not competition. No, not at all. Huh? Yes, I think it's emerging competitor. Right? So in a good financial environment, people may be more thinking about private educations. Am I correct? Right? All right, that's all. That's why I say that. In a good financial environment, that will be a good, right? Right. Anyway, so lot of threats, right? So we have to consider those things. Why we want to think about these SWOT factors later? We have to consider them in setting our objectives, in setting our strategies. That's the reasons. We have to consider them, right? So normally, now if you look at the next stage, step number 2, it clearly say what you have to do is you identify goals and objectives based on these SWOT factors. After analyzing your environment, you came up with SWOT factors. Then you are going to set objectives based on that. Right? So objective settings. We discussed difference between these goals, objectives, right? Then vision, missions. In the broad level, we have visions, missions, values, right? Goals, objectives, targets. Those should be set based on the SWOT factors, right? So the next thing is, you know the relation between objective and the strategies. What is the relation between these two? After you have identified the objectives, you have to come up with strategies to achieve our objectives. Next thing is, strategy should be identified to achieve our objectives, right? So if you look at about these factors, normally strength should be used to get the maximum right? Capitalization of the opportunities. Strength can be used to capitalize the opportunities, right? So you identify strategies, some strategies to use your strength, right? So strategy should be identified to use your strength. Then weaknesses. So you should identify some strategies to eliminate your weaknesses. If you're addicted to phone, you should identify some strategies to deal with that. Am I correct? Huh? So phone is a killer. Am I correct? Your focus is broken through phone. Huh? Do you have the focus when you are taking lunch, for example? What I have seen is people. Yeah. So our people have lost the focus. Huh? So social dilemma, right? So if you go to Netflix, for example, if you go to YouTube and type social dilemma, you can identify how this social media has taken your life, how they are controlling your life. Social dilemma. YouTube video belot මොකද වෙන්නේ ළඟට? How many videos are suggested, no? You go through all this, no? You just sit and මුලින් පහක් කියලා නිකන් මේල් එක බලන්න කියලානේ පටන් ගන්නනේ. It took a lot of time. Especially this is the case with younger generations. You may not be part of that generations. Am I correct? But these young guys are like that. Right? So weakness eliminations. When I'm doing my work, my phone is always forever, it is silent mode. It's always in silent mode. Right? So whenever I do work, so I'm not keeping that one in my working book. It's a different place. So it should not break my concentrations. Right? Should not break my concentrations. Right? So elimination of weaknesses, you have to come up with strategies to eliminate those weaknesses. Right? Then so opportunities. Grab the opportunities, capitalize the opportunities. You have to identify some strategies to capitalize the opportunities. Right? If there is any high demand, for example, say high demand for masters to get a promotion, you want to capitalize that, no? Am I correct? Most of you maybe try to capitalize that. Right? So opportunities. Right? When there's an opportunity, always you have to come up with strategies to capitalize that one. I had a chat with one of my office guy yesterday. He said that there's an opportunity for starting a class, right, for the older students. He thought he want to capitalize that. He start a class. He said that one of the institute invite him. There were around 200 people who are doing O-level and A-level in the same place. Then those people can be used to follow a professional course. Therefore, he started a tuition center in there. Nice guy, you know. So opportunity is there. He decided to capitalize that one. Right? Threats. How to face threats? Huh? So you have to come up with some strategies to face the threats also. Right? So now your environment is not right easy, challenging. If you look at our young guys, now not like early days, everyone is studying. Am I correct? You look at it's a high competitive environment. How these small kids are directed. I don't like this approach. Right? You try to make them more competitive, English, how much weight they're giving. Very bad. Right? So you have to work on the soft skills only, no? Am I correct? I'm worried about my kids, I worry about only the soft skills. I don't worry about others. When you come to the market, soft skill matter. Right? So soft skills, it can be IT skill, it can be your communication skill, right? So putting so many things, these small kids' brains are filled up with so many stuffs. Like our computer, no memory. How many things, no? How many classes? How many things have been given to the minds, right? So threats, maybe more tactical strategies to face the threats, right? Right. School education, for example, you can what you can do, you can look at about what market require, and you can deliver that one, right? Not the things others do. You can look at about what market require, and you can develop kids who are capable of having those skills. Then those kids will be able to compete with others. You see, this private school, for example, you see they have different courses. If you want to make your kids is more, right, marketable, right, more attractive in the market, so you identify, so what are the best thing you can do for them? So what are the skill set you can develop for them, right? Right. Then for the next things, implementation work, implementations. So after you have identified all these strategies, now you have objectives, goals, strategies. You should come up with detailed plan programs to implement the strategies you have identified, right? For example, there may be some annual activities taking place. Now you have action plan, no? Am I correct? Yes, action plan is a good example of that, an implementation work. It needs leadership. So you as leaders should play an important role, right? Change, it requires change. Sometimes you have to introduce some changes, right? So those things will happen under the implementation. Change, for example, structural change. Now, how many structural change? No, am I correct? Langam pasal, hondam pasal, ne? Am I correct? So that's what you want to communicate, right? That's true actually. In other countries, that's the reality, no? Now, if you talk with some of the friends, what I have experienced is MPAEM is called there is no difference, no? Am I correct? So that should be the best strategy, right? But the other setting should be theme is good, but implementation is the difficult part, no? So you have to change these settings and implement that one in practice, right? So the next thing is monitoring and evaluations. So in a defined time period, you have to check whether the plan is implementing in the best way, right? So do we want to make some changes? Can we achieve our visions within 3 years? If we go like this, do we want to accelerate a little bit more, right? So whether our progress is sufficient or not. If progress is not sufficient, you have to check where is the problem, where is the bottleneck. I'm sure that you have experienced that part when you do the progress review meetings. Your progress review meeting, no, am I correct? Right? You can see there are some bottlenecks. There are some guys, sometimes you have to replace those people with more energetic people. Then the plan will be driven, right? So review and update, right? So you have to review your plan and update that one from time to time, right? So probably what I have seen is annually, it is normally reviewed and updated. So in some organizations, I have seen monthly it is reviewed and updated, only small change, right? So normally what I have seen is annual review and even the semi-annual review. So what about your organizations? Annual review. Annual review, right? Okay. Is that clear? This process? Quarterly, good.
Yes, sir.
Right. Then now I told you that the things we are discussing here will be included in a document, right? So then that document is identified as our strategic plan. The document become our strategic plan. So that document may include visions, missions, right? Visions, missions, goals, values, take values here, values, then goals, objectives, targets, very common, no? I'm sure you have KPIs. Do you have KPIs? Key performance indicators. You want to deliver that, no? Right? So normally when you're doing the review, you look at about the KPI set for you, then check the actual result, whether it has been achieved or not. Right? So targets is plan environment analysis. These things normally include in the plan, right? Then strategies, then detailed programs, detailed program implementation part, example like budget, then review work, right? So when you include these things in a document, we call that document as strategic plan. The document is called strategic plan. In commercial organization, we use the word business plan, or sometimes it is called corporate plan. Right? So in this subject, we are going to learn how to prepare this particular strategic plan. We are going to discuss different steps involved with the preparation of strategic plan. That is the work we are going to do here. So at the end of our sessions, you should be able to prepare your strategic plan. And you should be able to contribute that one in the best way, right? So since you have already involved in this particular planning process in different level, you should be able to give more input in this planning process after you have learned this subject. Right? That is the objective, right? So what we expected is to improve your knowledge level and give more contribution to the strategic planning process, right? So more input should be given by you, right? This I'm very happy to hear that you have KPIs, but what I have here is in most of the government organizations very difficult to implement KPIs. Still trying, no? Am I correct? In some of the organizations, how many times this proposal came? In many organizations failed to implement KPIs, even attendance sessions. No, very difficult, no? Attendance machine I remember that when I was working in one of the organization, when we put a attendance machine, සතියයි දෙකකින් මේක කැඩෙනවා. හැමදාම හදනවා මේක කැඩෙනවා. මොකද කරේ? බැලුවහම පියනෝයි IT assistant කෙනෙක් දෙන්න තමයි කඩන්නේ හැමදාම. Because that affect their overtime. මොකද පොතේ ලියද්දි රෑ 8ට යනවා. අතරම 8ට යන්නේ. පොතේ දාන්නේ 12ට යනවා කියලා. හැමදාම රෑ 12යි 1යි. ගෙදර ගිහිල්ලා තින් බැලුවහම. මට වඩා පඩිය වැඩි. ඒ organization එකේ PN ගේ. Very common drivers like OT ලක්ෂයට හම්බ වෙනවනේ. Normally, I remember, not to tell the name, I did a overtime analysis in the whole organization. Then who came first? Drivers, PN came first. Average was around 100,000 per month. Average was 100,000 per month, overtime. That affected to them, no? That's why they broke. That one, right? It's very difficult to implement some of the changes, but happy to see that you have KPIs and you are delivering that one. Hope you are delivering, no? Delivering. Take the maximum to deliver that one, right? Right. So that's what we want to discuss here, right? Is it clear this, the steps normally we have? Clear? Any questions? Online guys, you can raise any questions. Or you can also raise any questions. No, perfectly all right. Huh? Any issues? Okay. Okay for you? Huh? Right. If you have any issue, you have to let me know, right? I'm new to your course. That's why I'm asking. Right? Not for subject. Right? So I think I have delivered the same area. I think more than 200 times, 300 times sometimes, more than 300 times. I have delivered the same area. Right? Right. Then I will move to the next. Right? Next. Well, right. We'll see strategic planning process we can apply in the organizations. Right. So this is relevant to both commercial and non-commercial organizations. Both commercial and non-commercial organizations. Therefore, since your organization, non-commercial organizations, right? This is relevant for you also. Right? This is relevant to education organizations. Right? When you are preparing your plan, strategic plan, in a commercial organization business plan, what are the things to be considered? So already you know that within your plan, it should include vision, missions, values, goals, objectives, then position analysis. Position analysis means you look at about your current situations. That is mainly covered through SWOT analysis. Mainly covered from SWOT analysis. Right? Then you have to include KPIs, key performance indicators. You have to set objective connected with the KPIs. Right? KPIs. Then you have to implement them in the real environment. Right? Putting chosen studies into actions. Then you can include, if you want, what is the next one? Review also, no? Review, monitoring and review. Also, monitoring and review. Right? Monitoring and review. Have you discussed CSF in your industry? Critical success factors? Have you covered? Critical success factors? Yes. No. KPI should be based on CSF. No. When you're setting objectives, you have to look at about the CSF also. No. Not considered. Critical success factors. Actually, practically, we look at about critical success factors even. We incorporate critical success factors right? Later we'll discuss that part. For example, normally when you are thinking about the critical success factors, to achieve the success, we have to think from a customer point of view. What customers want? What students want? Right? So if I take commercial organizations, customer want quality products. Customer want to buy a product at a lower cost, lower price, right? Then from organizational point of view, you should deliver that. So internally, you should have the processes to deliver that, right? So critical success factors also very important one. Right? Later we'll discuss critical success factors, right? Any questions? Okay. පැහැදිලි නේද ඉතින්? Master student, no, you should be able to absorb the things very quickly. Am I correct? Right? I will discuss later. Normally, if I go for a definition, critical success factors normally should be considered when we designing the strategies that explain the causes for the success. Cause for the success, right? Look at the KPI. KPI explain the effect of the success. Cause and effect relationship, right? CSF normally define cause for the success. KPI is the effect of success. Then CSF is more qualitative factors. It's a more qualitative factors. KPI is a more quantitative factors, right? So KPI is a more quantitative factors. I'm not going for an example here, right? Later we'll discuss that one, right? If I take a very simple example, you say customer satisfaction is a must. It's a critical success factors. Then you want to identify, right? What are the things that we should do to achieve the customer satisfactions, right? You say, for example, enhance the knowledge level of students is a critical success factor. KPI may be pass rate, for example, to check whether that has been happened, right? Pass rate, like that. O-level result, A-level result, those are KPIs. No? So if that is improved, that means you have achieved that critical success factors, right? If you take a mobile connection, if I take a mobile connection, what do you want from your mobile connections? Those are critical success factors. If you ask a question, what do you want from your mobile connection? What is your answer? Mobile connection. Everyone is saying a killer, no? Right? Everyone is saying a killer, right? So what do you want from mobile connections? Do you want to get the mobile connection at a lower cost? Low price, data cost, for example? Yes, no? Right? Anything else? Signal, coverage. Then speed of internet. Matter, no? Right? So we'll say, for example, Zoom, you should have good connection. Then problem, no? Right? So those are some of the examples. Those are critical success factors in the telecommunication industry, mobile telecommunication industry. If you can meet them, then, right, you can achieve the success. Right? Cause for the success. If a dialogue meet those requirements, then they can achieve the success. Right? So critical success factors. Right. Then I'm moving to the next one, the rationale model of strategy. There are different approaches, model, which can be used to develop the strategy. So here I'm going to introduce one for you. The model I'm going to introduce here is the rationale model of strategy. Rationale model, right? It's called rationale model, very popular. You can go, you can do research later, right? Very popular model, rationale model of strategy. Why it is called rationale model? You know the meaning of rationale. So normally we have more organized steps, no? Rationale means something organized, no? We call rationale. Here we are going to use some defined steps, clear defined steps to prepare the strategic plan, right? So you can start with vision, missions, goals, objectives, targets. You can start with that. While you are doing that one, you can look at about your environment. Position analysis, position audit here actually refers to your internal environment. Internal environment analysis. Position audit here refers to your internal environment analysis. Objective is to identify the strength and the weaknesses. SW will be found from the position audit, right? Then environment analysis here refers not for the total environment. Here it refers to the external environment. External environment. You know the objective of that one. So what do we want to identify through external environment analysis? Opportunities and threats. Opportunities and threats, right? So similar one actually what we have discussed earlier, right? So vision is there, mission is there, objectives are there. Then we look at about our internal environment through position audit, strength and weaknesses. Environmental analysis, in there we look at about opportunities and threat, external environment. This corporate appraisal means it combines the result of both internal environment and external environment. Corporate appraisal means where we combine the result, merge the result of both internal environment and the external environment, right? Internal environment, external environment. The main tool we are using for that purpose is SWOT, SWOT. Now, internal environment, we identify strength and weaknesses, no? Now, from the external environment, we have identified opportunities and threat. Now, we need to combine this, no? Right? When you combine this, right, we have the SWOT analysis. Practically, how organization is doing this one? Position audit is not an easy task. You have to use different tools for that. So many pages are created. Practically, you sit with others. Then you try to evaluate your processes. You can use a tool like value chain for that purpose. Value chain, right? You look at about your internal processes in detail and try to identify the strength and the weaknesses associated with that one. Strength and weaknesses, right? So it will take a lot of times. My personal experience is sometimes 8 to 10 days when you are preparing the strategic plan. 8 to 10 days, very difficult to get the people also. Saturdays and Sundays, 4 days, we do this. Sometimes external place, maybe 1 week staying in one external place. You have to give a good meal for them, right? So, right? So we have to give all these things, then only people come, right? Otherwise they will not come, right? It will take a lot of times, right? You have to get the help of external consultants sometimes, right? He has to facilitate this one, right? So I remember in one organization, I remember those days long time ago, we paid for the consultant also for a day 50,000. Long time ago. Now I think it's 200,000, 300,000 for a day. Consultant to facilitate this one, right? So then you ask them to come up with a vision, mission, right? Come up with some objectives, right? So discuss sometime. I remember for a vision and mission, it took 1 full day. Preparing the vision, mission, it took 1 full day, right? People crashing each other. They say vision should be this, mission should be this, like that. Right? It takes a lot of times, right? So, what I will tell you here is normally we'll say value chain, for example. We look at about the internal processes and identify what are the strengths and weaknesses associated with that one. It will take a lot of times. Then you look at about your resource and competencies. You may look at about what are the unique resources, what are the threshold resources, right? So resource audit may be done. Resource audit. Resource audit means there you look at about the resource in depth, right? So through that you identify the strength and the weaknesses. I strengthen the weakness, I identify through that one, right? So like that, this you have a lot of phases, practical, I'm talking about practical environment, right? Then opportunities and threat, you look at about your macro environment, you look at about your micro environment, you look at about political environment, for example, macro environment forces. Then through that you identify what are the opportunities, what are the threats. Then you want to take these things into one place, right? So summary work will be done through this corporate appraisal. The tool is the SWOT. Now you may have questions. You can do the SWOT analysis directly. Am I correct? That's the way you are doing, no? Am I correct? You directly go over the SWOT. No, you do this process analysis like that. Hmm. 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 All right. That is in-depth analysis. Right. Right. So directly you can go for that. Similar to that, you identify different sources and then directly you identify the SWOT factors. But practical business, or what you can do is you can use more organized tools and conduct the internal environment analysis and external environment analysis. Then you can summarize the things into one, right? Right. Then strategic options. How many studies you come up with, right? There will be a lot of strategies you can apply. Practically, can you implement all these strategic options? Practically, no, you have to evaluate and identify the best strategies. So under this, after you have identified the strategic options, what we will do is we'll evaluate them, right? You can use different models. For example, SAF model, suitability, acceptability, and feasibility model. SAF model for evaluation purpose, or you can use 7S model. There's another model. I don't want to discuss the 7S model with you. 7S, right? So in the classroom, I will discuss the SAF model. That's very easy. SAF, suitability, acceptability, and feasibility model for the evaluation purpose. Right. Acceptability. SAF. Right. Right. Then the strategic choice, no? You select the best one from the alternatives, no? Then what you do? You are going to implement them in practice. Implementation part. The detailed program, the leadership, change management, all come into effect in there. New organization structure. Lot of things to be done, no? In the implementation part. The most difficult part is implementation, no? Execution, in other words. Am I correct? Yes. And implementing. Then what is the next thing? Control part. Strategic control part. So time to time, we have to review our plan and do the adjustment. Yes, amendment, controlling actions. What is normally happening in controlling? What is controlling? Very simple, no? If you go the basic controlling mean, compare actual result with the expected result, no? Expected result, identify the variances, look at about the reason for variances, unfavorable variances, then take corrective actions, right? So under strategic control, what we do is we compare actual result with the expected result. Actual result with the expected result, identify variances. If there is unfavorable variances, we look at about the reasons, causes, why this occur, right? So then we take the corrective actions. Sometimes there may be some guy who is a bottleneck. This guy is not implementing this one. That's why we fail. Remove that guy. Replace with a new guy. Oh, you have mentioned that strike, no? Still, I think A-level paper marking has not been commenced, no? Not yet, no? Yes. Right? Right? Now you are also strike? No. Universities are strike. In the university lecturers are strike, no? Am I correct? They are conducting strike. I think next week there is a proposed strike, no? It's applicable to you also. 15, no? 15, I think. Right. Clear this controlling part. What we do is from time to time we look at, no? We look at, then identify the reasons, then take corrective actions. Strike, we'll say autocratic leader is there. If there is a strike, what he can do? I'm talking about autocratic leader. Send all the people home, no? And recruit new guys. Very easy. Democratic leader, very difficult, no? So then you have to meet the demand of everyone, right? Autocratic guy, remove all the people. Extreme. No, not practical. Sri Lankan country not practical. That's true. Right? But very difficult in organization. What I have found is democratic is not the best approach. In Sri Lankan country is very tough. You should be a little bit tough also. There are some leaders. There are some guys, no. There are some capable guys. Right. Is that clear? This is one of the model we can use to prepare the strategic plan. That is called rational model. Right? This is another model. This Johnson and others. Here, this is there. This Johnson model in this book. Johnson model. Right? So, Johnson and others have identified a model. He identified 3 steps. 3 steps, connected 3 steps. Right? So, strategic position analysis, strategic position or strategic analysis, in other words. Strategic position or strategic analysis, then strategic choice, then strategy into actions. 3 steps have been identified. Similar to that one, here the strategic position or strategic analysis means they cover both internal environmental analysis and the external environmental analysis. Plus, actually, that will look at about your objective setting also. Right? That's why this, if you look at about this one, see, purpose is given. You define the purpose. Purpose means the mission actually. So, vision, mission, those things will be covered here. Then you look at about your internal environment. For example, one of the variables of the internal environment is culture, no? Culture and the capability. You look at about your capabilities. Then you look at about the external environment. At the top, it is environment is there. That refer to the external environment. Right? The strategic analysis, right? Here, this is another model, right? That's the first thing you want to know. That is another model. In there, we look at about vision, missions, those objective setting part. Then we look at about our environment, internal and external environment, right? So the short factors will be covered, right? Then the next thing is choice, no? After you have done those things, then you have to identify strategies, no? Which can be used to achieve the objectives. Strategic choice. In an organizational environment, there may be different level. Business level, corporate level, international level, right? Here the business level from organization point of view, business level mean one entity. Corporate mean the total organizations. Right? So international strategies. You can think about international strategy. For example, PAEM, they are having international strategy, no? So they are operating in some foreign countries, right? Then after you have identified different strategies, what you have to do normally? Evaluation, no? You would evaluate and select the best one. That is strategic choice. Identify the alternative strategies, then evaluate them and select the best one. That is covered under strategic choice. Then the next one is strategy into actions, implementation part. Strategy into actions, implementations, right? Implementations, organizational structure. That is one area we have to look at about when you are doing implementations, right? Then new processes, resource, change, right? All these things are covering under that. Right? Another model, don't confuse. Earlier also we discussed one model, right? Rational model. This is also another model. This model was proposed by these Johnson and others, right? If you go through this book, you can identify this model, right? Right.
Excuse me, sir. May I ask question?
Yeah. You
So
can
can you explain by an example?
for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, here, so this is another model. We try to use what is given here to prepare our strategic plan. Earlier also we identify a model, rational model also. In there also we try to use some of the steps to prepare the strategic plan. So here what we will do is, we can start from the strategic question, no? We can look at about our objectives, vision, missions. Then we look at about our environment, SWOT factors, internal environment, external environment. Then after you have done that one, this is similar to what we have discussed earlier process. Then what we can do is we can identify the strategies, strategic choice, look at about alternative strategies we can identify. Then we evaluate those alternative strategies, then implement them. Finally, we have to implement them. Strategy into action means implementation part. Clear? That one. Same thing actually. Here he has identified three main things to be considered when we are preparing the strategic plan. So starting point is strategic analysis. We evaluate our internal and external environment, right? Similar to what we have done previously. Then we look at about our objectives. Then after you have set these objectives, the second thing is you look at about different strategies we can implement it and evaluate them and select the best strategy. That is strategic choice. Third one is strategy into action, implementation part. You start from strategic analysis, then move to the strategic choice, then implementation part. Clear? The person who has raised the questions, is that clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.